But while they are squabbling, of course, Tristan Ovenden up front is getting away.
Pedal travel needs to be much shorter. This is not good. Come on, I have a tissue under the brake.
Did somebody change something?
How to drive without ABS? What happened?
I don't have the brake!
This is Team SimuCube. We hear you.
Well, hello everyone, and welcome to race meeting number 3 of the ROKiT F4 Esports Championship here in wonderful, wonderful Knockhill for this round of the F4 British F4 Esports Championship, excuse me, as we wait to get going here for another time of asking. The sim racers are out there getting themselves their last couple of moments of practice done at a very windswept, well, usually very windswept Knockhill racing circuit. My name is Connery Maddock, and I'm joined by the ever wonderful Paul Smith this time around as we get going right in towards the middle of the season here, Paul. It's been a fantastic, well, first couple of events that we've got under our belts, and now we're heading into that middle part of the season with a little bit of a better bearing on where we're going, at least in terms of the championships.
Yeah, in terms of the drivers and teams championships, there do seem to be some main contenders in those. But I'll tell you what, Connery, I'm absolutely gutted that Lewis was around last time out because it was my favourite track of Alton Park. But Knockhill, can't go wrong with Knockhill, Scotland's national circuit. It's a tremendous venue for motor racing.
Yeah, it is absolutely tremendous, and of course, it's you know, very, very fast and furious. I think it's probably fair to say we're looking at practice times at the moment in and around the low to mid 46 seconds, which is incredibly quick, and it means that we're going to get a lot of laps under our belts here today. I certainly can't wait for it, and of course, can be quite technical, this circuit as well, so we'll have to see how the drivers deal with it, especially in these relatively small IRO4 cars that can't quite take the curves as quite as well as, say, a touring car like we were discussing in the well, before the broadcast even started, Paul.
Yeah, absolutely. Some of these curbs you would normally try and monster in something like a GT or touring car, but in these Formula 4 cars, if you do take off, good luck, and hopefully you don't end up with any damage, but it can happen around here with this circuit. It's going to be fast, frenetic, furious for some drivers as well, but certainly it's going to be a thrill ride for all of us.
Yep, it absolutely is. And of course, coming into today, let's have a look at the, well, recap of how things work here in the ROKiT British F4 Esports Championship. Each round will include 2 30-minute races. Lots of action to get going on with here today. Grid for race 1 is determined by the lone qualifying session. Grid for race number 2 is determined by a reverse grid based on the results of race 1. And that reverse grid can be anything between 5 and 10. So if you're within that range at the end of race 1, then there's a chance that you might get yourself reverse grid pole position for race 2. The team point scoring system, you can see that at the bottom, 25 points to the race winner. You've got P2 18 points, P3 15 points, and so on and so forth. The last point paying position is P10 here in this particular series. Outside of that, you are scoring nil points. So it's a bit of a scrap, Paul, for drivers and teams to get themselves inside of that top 10, because the vast majority of these positions, in terms of the finishing results, they score you 0. It's only the top 10 that got points. Yeah,
and do you know what? I actually like a series like that where it rewards you for finishing up towards the front of the field. And I know there's conversations that people will have about if you're somebody who doesn't get into the points regularly, but when you do make it to the points, it feels like quite an achievement. So actually, I do like having something like this, and it really gives you something to strive towards. And with there being 2 races as well, it just spices things up. And I know all about reverse grids decided by the spin of a wheel, so there should be a cracker.
Yeah, of course. World Sim Racing are helping organize this tournament, and they have a couple of other competitions that Paul Smith may or may not be a part of. But let's have a look at the prizes then. It's primarily a team's championship, as we've said time and time again so far. The vast majority of the prize pot goes to the teams. So you can see on the left-hand side there, $2.5 grand going to the first place team, $1.5 grand to second, and £1,000 to third. There is a driver's championship, however. £500 to the winning driver at the end of the season, with second getting 300 and third getting 200. The winning team will also get themselves 2 full days in the Base Performance Simulator official Formula 4 simulator in Banbury. So that will be a fantastic experience for whichever team gets that. And well, the second place team, well, they get 1 day, so half the days of the winning team. And of course, the third place team, they get 6 hours in the simulator time in the Virtual Reality Racing Club at Silverstone as well. Couple more prizes on the right-hand side as well. The winning driver gets themselves the Sim Race 5 Simulator chassis, and of course, Virtual Reality Racing Club GTF1 race seat as well. The top 3 drivers get themselves 1 hour of online sim coaching sessions from VRRC as well. And on top of all of that, Paul, they all get themselves invited to the Night of Champions, which is absolutely fantastic to see yet more esports and sim racing representation at those big prize-giving events.
Yeah, absolutely. And it just goes to show that, sim racing, it is another form of motorsport, as several people keep on saying the cars may not be real, but the racing certainly is. And it's great that sim racing is starting to get that level of recognition now from championships, and the British Formula 4 Championship certainly giving that recognition.
Yeah, they absolutely are. And, well, let's have a look at the teams that are going to be competing here today. Apex Racing Team, of course, if you're familiar with esports here on iRacing, then you'll know who Apex Racing Team are, one of the top teams on the entire platform. They basically have 2 cars here in this championship. They have their main team and they have their academy team as well. Munster Rugby Gaming getting themselves involved as well, and well, they have a partnership with Williams Esports, which is another big name here on iRacing and in the rest of sim racing as well. Got real life representation as well. That's JHR Development there. Joseph Loke and Georgi Dimitrov, they race in the real world, and they're turning their hand to sim racing as part of that JHR Development team, which is absolutely fantastic to see. We've got a very good spread between sim drivers and real world drivers here in this series, Paul, which it's always amazing to see this melting pot of talent.
It's good to see who of those real-world racers who maybe aren't as experienced in the sim, see how they adapt to the simulator environment. Of course, you've not got that seat of your pants feel in the sim that you would in real life, but certainly it's great to see how these drivers can develop in the white-hot crucible that is sim racing.
Yeah, absolutely. There are another couple of teams there. We've got YRDA Arden as well, getting themselves involved in this. Of course, team from the real world as well. paired up with the sim racing teams, Team Fordzilla Hybrid. They've got two teams involved in this one, and it's great to see them potentially do pretty well here. They did pretty well last time out, and well, they're hoping for a good day here at Knockhill as well. Lots of teams looking to try and get themselves a little bit more off the mark in terms of this one. Of course, given that only the top 10 drivers score points in any of these races here today, it's really a bit of a struggle to get any form of points on the board. Mensa Racing, one of the team that has scored 0 points just yet. So they gonna have to get a bit of a move on here towards the second half of the season to climb a little bit further up the order. Well, we got ourselves a little bit of news with regards to penalties here in just a bit, but here's how the penalty system works. Basically, drivers, if they have a crash or an incident where they're deemed at fault and it's bad enough, they get points on their license here, Paul. And you can see the penalties after race 2 on the right-hand side. Deegan Fairclough has got himself 5 license points, and Ruben Stanislaus 4 license points, both of them over the threshold. Give them to be awarded a qualifying ban for this race. So we will not see those 2 drivers take to the track at any point during the qualifying session.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's a lot. The license points I'm very familiar with through the World Sim Racing Association with this. So yeah, it's a good system. It penalises you through accumulation of penalties as well. So yeah, definitely good to see that in this series as well, and it shows that you've got to behave yourself out on track as well.
Yeah, it really does. And, well, you've got to be so careful. You can't afford to be getting too many license points so early on in the season. It risks the qualifying bans a little bit later on. But let's have a look at the team standings then. This is the primary championship here in the ROKiT F4 British Esports Championship. And, well, Munster Rugby Gaming get themselves 18 points ahead of Apex Racing Academy here at the moment. That is still pretty tight. All things considered, that can absolutely change on its head by the end of today. You've got the main Apex Racing team there in 3rd place, with Team Fordzilla Hybrid in 4th. The main Team Fordzilla team in 5th place. It seems to be a theme here where the quote-unquote secondary teams are actually doing better than the primary ones.
Yeah, certainly. It's a real turn up for the Bucks, but it just goes to show that you've got to be in it to win it and get points. And that's what these drivers are doing out there today for those 2 teams.
Here's a look at the Drivers' Championship then. It's still very, very tight indeed. Jamie Fluke, 71 points, is the championship leader at the moment. It's Luke McEwen in the sister car in the Academy machine on 67 points there in 2nd place. Then it's Josh Ladd from Munster Rugby Gaming in P3. Again, just a handful of points behind. And then, Paul, it is a bit of a rift, actually, between the top 3 and then everyone else. So Stanley Deslandes, 33 points there. 30 points behind Josh Ladd, and that is quite a gap for the moment.
Yeah, it certainly is, and one of the surprise ones for me is the fact that you got Peter Berryman all the way down in 8th place, of course, getting caught up in incidents last time out at Alton Park, so definitely he'll be wanting some good points here today.
Absolutely, and of course, drivers. Well, we've got a good handful of drivers actually yet to get off the mark in terms of points here today. But there's where we are at in terms of the season, getting towards the end of the first half, and then, well, once we're done here today at Knockhill, we'll head to Snetterton, then to Silverstone, and then we head to the Brands Hatch Grand Prix circuit. 2nd of December to close out the season and, well, crown a champion, but we actually get to crown multiple champions here in this series.
Yeah, we certainly do, and I do like the team element. I think you should reward teams for performing well and doing well, and yeah, I'm glad to see that the focus on the team element of this championship. It's a great addition.
Yep, it is fantastic, and it's not something that we're really used to seeing in sim racing. The more constructors, teams, championship side of things, usually the focus is much more on the drivers. So it's a bit of a change of pace for us, at least in terms of sim racing. But we are going to get themselves into a fast lap time here at the moment. And Paul, this one's going to be very quick for you. Just take us through a lap of Knockhill.
Yeah, up over the start line then. Keep over to the left-hand side for Duffer's dip. Down a couple of gears. Go through Leslie's and then onto the brakes hard then for the right-hander. McIntyre through Butchers, which is flat out, and then the chicane. You launch it at the sky and hope that you land. Keep to the left hand side, then down the Brabham straight into Clark. This corner is important. You need to carry the speed out of it because you're going to be getting that speed all the way down the railway straight, which isn't very straight if you ask me, but all the way on to the left hand side to open up the final corner. Taylor's hard onto the brakes, down the gears. It's a steep uphill section. Then you've got to carry the speed out of Taylor's up the hill all the way to the finish line, which is right by the pit exit as we see cars going through the kitty litter there.
Yeah, that's number 18 for Zilla. So that's William McIntyre, who's currently 4th place here in qualifying, as the drivers are going to get themselves 4 flying laps here. We've already had 5 minutes of the session done, and well, 5 minutes is enough to actually get all 4 of your laps completed. So that's what the vast majority of drivers have done at the moment. There's a few getting themselves their very last lap in, or at least are on their very last flying lap. As McIntyre, careful with the track limits there. You don't want to be getting that 1x and invalidate your lap.
And one thing pointing out about William McIntyre as well, of course, he has been announced at High Tech for 2023 this morning. So some really good news for him to get himself a drive next year. So good to see a number of drivers getting drives as well. So good to get that announcement out the way very early on in the winter months.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's nothing like wondering where you're going to be at, where you're going to be racing, who you're going to be racing with. Even a couple of weeks before the start of the season, it's always a tough situation that the real world drivers especially have to go through. We're riding on board with Peter Berryman here at the moment, which you quite rightfully mentioned, Paul, struggling in terms of points at the moment. He's just, by and large, has been in the wrong place at the wrong time when incidents have happened, and it sort of sent him down the order. And given there's no points for positions back outside of the top 10, that really, really does hurt, and you struggle to gain any sort of momentum in terms of putting points on the board.
The thing is, Pete Berryman, he is somebody who knows how to win a championship as well in sim racing, so he has done it in the past. It's just, yeah, he just seemed to have just got caught up in incidents last week at Alton Park. Of course, a very difficult circuit to make any overtakes at. He made a brilliant overtake into Druids as well, following Luke McEwen last week. So definitely, he's got the ability, he's got the pace. It's just getting everything together and getting that consistency there for you. But Josh Ladd, this is somebody who's got a little bit of pressure on him now because he's involved in that championship fight. There you see him working away at the wheel. 7th place in qualifying right now, but you look at how close those times are. It's absolutely tremendous to see just the gaps between cars. I mean, we've got a second, well, not even a second, 0.8 of a second covering 1st to 20th.
That is absolutely crazy, and well, maybe comes with the territory with a track as short as this one. Josh Ladd, though, coming out of the final corner. P7 in terms of the qualifying order at the moment, and well, this won't be an improvement for Josh Ladd, given that he has run out of laps, run out of fast laps, excuse me, to be able to get himself positions up the starting grid. But here's Sasha Fitzpatrick then heading her way up across the line. P21 for the moment for Sasha in the number 41 car. And is that an improvement? No, I don't think it was for Sasha, but continuing on with the lap, and well, she has actually run out of laps here in this situation, so we're going to be no improvement before the end of the session. 1 minute 20 to go. I think pretty much everyone is done here, Paul. I'm actually seeing no one on circuit that's actually on an active flying lap that will count if they get themselves to the line.
I think one thing that Saoirse will be trying to do here, though, is just getting a feel for the car. She has been a last-minute fill-in here today, so definitely she'll be just trying to get as many laps under her belt just to try and get a feel of how the car is around this track and to get up to speed.
46 seconds, though, to get themselves the last bits of practice in. And, well, for Saoirse, that will be appreciated given how late the call was to get inside the car for Prismatic Motorsports. And a couple of other drivers down the order as well, getting themselves the opportunity to get acclimatized to the track conditions. Speaking of track temperature, 32 degrees, which any other track would be rather moderate. But at Knockhill, 32 degrees is actually quite notable.
I don't know, for track temperature around here, it's not too bad. I mean, it's 18 degrees air temperature, which you could tell that we're not in the middle of November in Sim, because it would be much colder than that as things are now. But definitely those drivers, they'll be able to push all the way through these races.
They absolutely will. And, well, we have a starting grid for race number 1. It's Stanley Deslandes that gets himself onto pole position here, makes it an Apex 1-2, but not in the exact same team, of course, as Peter Berryman, getting himself on the front row. Luke McEwen gets himself 3rd place with Ryan Mikulev in a P4, with Jamie Fluke P5. Alex Spetz rounds out the top 6 cars. Josh Ladd will start in 7th with Matt Caruana in P8. Joseph Lokila in P9. So that's a good starting position for a first race of the season. Dion Gouda in P10 with Keo Pev in P11 with William McIntyre starting from 12th. Josh Poulan will start in P13 with Georgi Dimitrov in P14. Dylan Warren will start in 15th with Mira Schmidt in 16th. Ted Bradbury will start in 17th with Corey Allende in P18. Pete Harrod, P19. Ethan Crutchley, P20. Saoirse Fitzpatrick, P21. Carl Chase and Lewis Apiegi will round out the 22nd and 23rd spots on the starting grid. Everyone getting themselves ready now. It's a good qualifying performance, in particular for the Apex Racing Academy cars, as they've got P1 and P3. So they're on, potentially, if they get clean through this first lap, for a good points finish.
They certainly are on for a good shout for that. Luke McEwen is a fast driver. I've seen him sort of come up through the ranks, and he's got a lot of potential, so don't write him out of this race. But we're getting set, Connor 8, for the start of this one, and well, you just need to calm the nerves now and get yourselves ready. Focus on that starting procedure.
Here we go then. Race meeting number 3 of the ROKiT British F4 Esports Championship is about to get itself underway here in Scotland at Knockhill. We are racing on the way in towards turn number 1. Immediate block from Mikulev as he had a sluggish start and tried to block off the lane from Jamie Fluke, but it is a battle for the race lead between Deslandes and Berryman. That gets itself single filed out in short order as Mikulev tries to improve position over Luke McEwen, trying to go around the outside. It's always so tight coming through here, going wheel to wheel. And actually, Mikulev is able to pick up that position. McEwen's around. McEwen's out into the gravel. Oh, that couldn't have gone any worse. He cycles all the way to the back of the field. It was an unforced error too, which makes it all the more tragic.
And look now, you've got a queue of cars behind Karuna as well, so you've got to be patient here. Jamie Fluke's dropping down the order as well, so I think he got caught up in all of that shenanigans at the chicane. But certainly, as we end this first lap, the front 3 are saying, bye-bye, chaps, we're off, see you later. The rest of them are all fighting over scraps from 4th all the way down the field.
Indeed they are, as they swing their way through Duffer's Dip and into McIntyre, of course. Speaking of McIntyre, we're on board with the McIntyre Team Fordzilla number 18 car as he absolutely swings it up over those curbs. At the chicane, oh! That is absolutely huge, that incident. Car in the fence. Oh my word, this is one of the situations, Paul, where we're very thankful this is sim racing.
Yes, very thankful indeed that it is sim racing, because that would be an instant red flag, I can tell you that, if this was the real world. Was it Myra Schmidt, or was it Dylan Warren, I think it was, that potentially ended up in the fence there. So, yeah, one of those two. Fluked into the pits, so obviously he's got damage. Here's a replay.
Yeah, I think it was Warren. Oh! Big incident at the chicane, and it's a very, very risky situation to be going for a move down into there. That's for certain. It can happen, but You're putting yourself in such a dangerous position going down into there. And of course, stewards will be looking at these incidents after the event. They don't tend to have any influence when it comes to during an event. Here's the onboard with Schmidt, side by side into the chicane. And
Schmidt was there.
Yeah, she was. She absolutely was. But that's just the risk of going side by side at such high speed into such a tight and complex portion of the circuit where you really have to thread the needle, even if you just a single car not side by side.
And the chicane, you never really want to go side by side through there. It is very much a one-line part of the circuit around here, is the chicane. So yeah, going side by side isn't exactly clever. Yeah, championship leader Jamie Flug. I think his first race is done because he's just sat on pit road. He must have mandatory repairs needing to be done. Here's a look back at what happened then. So it was a slide. It was just a slide from McEwen. Around he goes. Wow. I thought he certainly got contact, but no, just cold tyres.
Yeah, that took the words straight out of my mouth there, Paul. Cold tyres coming into effect here in the early stages. Of course, they'll be up into their operating window now, but a first lap can be very, very sketchy. So it's surprising that it still catches drivers out at this level, but sometimes mistakes do happen. I was just having a look back towards the Munster Rugby gaming cars. That's Josh Ladd, Alexander Spets there. They're currently all formed up behind Matt Caruana, who has actually held on to that P4 rather well here for the moment. Yes, he's lost the front three, but he's kept everyone else behind. And those Munster Rugby gaming cars are not slow pokes by any means.
No, absolutely not. And I mean, with this venue, with this circuit, it's very much like Alton Park. If you know where you need to defend, here's a look back. This is the Team Fordzilla car, and that's Jamie Fluke in front. So William McIntyre, and yes, it's contact with Fluke on the rear of his car, and that's what's giving him the damage. And I can tell you, we've got a change at the front as well, because Pete Berryman to the front of your field now.
Yep, got past Deslanders. Is Deslanders going to decide to have a little bit of a go into Taylor's? No, he's just going to stay in line. Let's see how it happens, though. Oh, it was a mistake from Deslanders out into the gravel slightly. And it's a freebie for Peter Berryman. So for a driver who we kind of mentioned was having a bit of a tough time in the championship so far, might have been listening to us, and he's got himself up into the race lead. And with 25 minutes to go, still a long time to be able to hold on to that one, but battling further back, Alexander Spets looking to try and get past Caruana. Caruana already lost the position to Josh Ladd as Spets clatters the curb, and that allows Joseph Lug to head his way through. Yeah,
going from attack to defense. One mistake and leads into another. Well, Spets is going backwards here. This isn't exactly clever. More moves being made around the outside. This is great racing. Well, we've got 2x2. How they're going to sort themselves out at Taylor's, well, we'll have to wait and see.
2x2, and well, I wouldn't be surprised if Pev gets himself involved. Oh no! The Team Fordzilla cars have come together. Oh, McIntyre, he got out onto the curb and onto the grass and spun right in front of traffic, and it just that it was his teammate in the way, and also Spets got himself tagged around a little bit, just the front wing coming swinging across, and it takes out Spets as well. Another single car incident. This time, it takes out a couple of cars with it.
Oh my goodness. Well, I was about to say that Knockhill can be a brutal track where mistakes can lead to you losing places, but that's ridiculous. I mean, those two coming together like that. McIntyre's on pit road, as we saw. So, yeah, not a good day at all. The Fordzilla driver, there's a move there, made into the Taylors. I thought there was going to be contact there, and David Fairclough, fair enough, he started at the back of the field with a penalty. He's already up to 10th place.
That's up plus 14 in terms of positions, helped by all the incidents that's been going on. Battling on the live pictures. Oh, Fairclough just bullies his way through there, the bottom right-hand side. Here's what happened through Taylor's just a couple of moments ago, with McIntyre getting all sorts of out of shape and taking two cars, including his teammate with him. So not exactly ideal, but I think Fairclough, he's got to be so careful with these incidents, though, Fairclough, because he just barged the driver out of the way. He's already on 4 license points. And he's already taken a penalty for it, and he might end up getting another penalty at some point further down the line because you just can't just wheel barge someone out of the way.
Yeah, it was a little bit rude, was that down at McIntyre's, I must say, for Deegan Fairclough. But Deegan is just on a mission. Whether it's entirely legal is up to the stewards after the event. That's not for us to say. But you have to say it is a charge through the field. And you wanted to get yourself into that top 10 to give yourself that possibility of a reverse grid pole position. Well, 9th place now. That's 2 opportunities of getting a pole position.
Yeah, it is.
2 positions? No, it's only 1 chance for pole position. What am I talking about, Connery?
Well, I was just about to go with you there, so I wasn't necessarily paying too much. Well, we're running on board here with Fitzpatrick. Currently P17, so a quiet drive for Sasha, but that's kind of all she needed to do at the moment because, again, reserve driver for Prismatic Motorsports, just getting it to the end would be an awesome achievement. But position potentially might be on the... Oh, I think the curse of the RaceSpotTV onboard cam has returned, as Sasha has a bit of a spin out into the gravel there. And, well, she's definitely not alone in terms of the single car instance that we've seen so far this race. It seems like those cars are a bit on edge, and the drivers sort of, well, feeling like they're a bit of a handful.
Yeah, just lock the brakes going into McIntyre's there, so easily done on the down change. You've got to be careful with that. And as we say, Saoirse hasn't had as much practice around here as the rest of the drivers, getting that late call up into the race here. So still doing a good job. 17th place overall. Did lose a position through that one, but the front 2 now, they've got Pete Berryman's got a teammate coming up in front of him about to be lapped. Jamie Fluke is in 19th at the moment classification. He's trying to work his way through just to try and get his best grid position for the second race towards the rear. But he's got the 2 race leaders coming up behind him. I'm sure that he will just be safe and just let his teammates by. But whether he lets the second place driver by, I mean, they are out under the same stable, but they're not the same team.
Indeed they are, or the same gazebo. If me and Peter Mackay had anything to say about it, that's a bit of a running joke in another World Sim Racing series that we commentate here on RaceSpotTV. But for Stanley Deslanders, sister car ahead of him at the moment. He's already lost this position due to a mistake, and now how much does he pressure the back of Peter Berryman here? Because, of course, like you said, they're from the same stable as far as the Apex Racing team is concerned. They've got almost 3 seconds back to Micallef down in 3rd. There's certainly space to have a bit of a fight here if they so want it.
I think there's still... I mean, we've only had 10 minutes of the race go by. It's absolutely flown. Oh, mistake from Berryman! Oh, he manages to stay ahead, though. But I think Deslanders doesn't need to make the move immediately. You can afford to be patient right now, as I see on our timing tower that we've got some movement with Luke McEwen and Peeve as well, changing positions, and Fairclough has actually dropped a few positions in all of this as well. But yeah, these 2, they don't want to fight too early, because that's going to allow Ryan to catch up behind them in 3rd place and to give them that opportunity. You want to just keep it safe, keep it clean, and oh, that's not how you want things to go for Deegan.
Yeah, and well, it was a hard charge through the field that's been disrupted somewhat. What's happened to Deslanders? Deslanders is dropping down the order a little bit there. No, he gave me a little bit of a fright there. He must have just blinked out for a little bit, lost connection from the server, and now he's back into things. But it's always scary when you see a top driver drop down the timing tower like that. Heart in mouth moment, but it seems like he's okay now. It was just a little bit of a blip.
Josh Poulan does have a drive-through penalty, so that'll be into pit road, and in fact has decided to pull over. There is what's happened to the 33 of Josh Poulan, and decided, you know what, we're taking a tour back to the pits after that one at the chicane. But yes, that's the thing. The nature of sim racing, you know, internet connections can have little blips here and there. Can affect some of us here in the broadcast as well. But
don't jinx it, Paul.
but I will say that it is another aspect that you don't have in the real world. You don't have somebody just suddenly disappear in the real world, but you have other failures in the real world that you don't have in sim racing. Meanwhile, Matt Corona has been doing a good job in 6th place and got Joseph Lurk in front right now. Any moves being made? No, not so far.
Yeah, well, there was a little bit of a peek to the inside, but no sting in the move, so to speak. I am still very surprised, especially coming up towards the chicane in just a few moments here, how much these drivers are deciding to take those curbs, because these are small cars, those are very big curbs, and if you hit them just at the wrong point in the wrong way, then you're going to be spat towards the outside of the corner, and you're having to try and recover it out on the grass, which is not an easy feat here in iRacing.
No, it's not, and you wouldn't be doing this in real life as well. Dimitrov, wow, that's a send and a half down into Taylor's, but Bradbury's going to come back at this as Ted, side by side, heading towards Dingle Dell. Who's got the biggest brave pill? Well, it's going to be Dimitrov.
Yeah, so getting past the YRDA Arden car is Dimitrov there. So fantastic stuff, fantastic battling between these two, and well, it still might not be totally done just yet. Dimitrov is slightly sketchy on the entry to the chicane, but gathers up very, very well for the exit of the corner. Bradbury, again, big snap of oversteer, at least on the corner just before the railway straight here down towards Taylor's. Here's the onboard here with Bradbury as he gets onto the brakes into the hairpin. A little bit of a puff of smoke there from Dimitrov, which is not going to help him in terms of carrying his momentum here down the pit straight, but there's not much Bradbury could really do from this far back at the moment.
Oh, look at that, up on 2 wheels. Dimitrov is doing everything he can to try and throw his car at the scenery, and yet he's keeping it on the track. But yeah, Bradbury, you just got to be patient here for the YRDA Arden driver, and you've got to really push on and to just keep that pressure on that car in front and hope that they make a mistake, which can happen around here.
Yeah, well, Bradbury's going to send it down the inside at the hairpin at Taylor's, and oh, they tangle off the corner. Oh, Dimitrov and Bradbury having an incident there off the corner. Drivers heading their way through. No one else was collected in it. There's the frustration there from Bradbury, not knowing what the situation was off the corner there, but oh, I'm not sure what you make of that one, Paul.
Yeah, that's what we in the business call a mess. It was untidy, that is for sure, and yeah, just getting caught up towards each other. It's a question of you've got to give room to the car on the outside there when you're making that move. That car on the outside's trying to get the run out of that corner and to carry the speed up this straight here towards Dingle Dell. So it's all about trying to compromise the car on the inside, but at the same point, the car on the inside, just run it a little bit out wide and you trip over each other.
Under 14 minutes to go. There are the race leaders, Peter Berryman, Stanley Deslanders. They have been relatively quiet over the course of this race so far. I get the feeling potentially that might change. But meanwhile, Josh Ladd and Mikulev behind these guys. Well, Ladd has been able to improve position up into a podium spot here at the moment. Mikulev losing out on that one as they head in towards Taylor's now. And it was a mistake from Mikulev that actually allowed that to happen. So again, another single driver incident that has affected the running order here. It's a tough track at the best of times, Paul. You know, it's deceivingly simple, this Knockhill circuit, in many ways.
I'll tell you what, I think I'm already getting these drivers off to the championship finale at Brands Hatch, calling it in Dingle Dell. It's tough as dip is turn one. How dare I? But, oh, there's a little mistake. Getting out onto the gravel there. Able to hold on to the place, though, is Ladd, but Ryan Micallef, well, he's got an opportunity here. Get the run down to Taylor's, onto the brakes. Going to stay in line for the time being. That's it. The Kimura performance driver just being patient and staying in that slipstream. Again, this is like Alton Park last week. You're not going to have the strongest of slipstreams around here. Really, the strongest slipstream you're going to get is down the railway straight. But other than that, it's all about just forcing the mistake out of the car in front and out of the competitor in front of you. And Josh Ladd up into third place. Oh, they both launch over the chicane, but Ladd slightly better off for it.
Yeah, well, if you want some draft, we'll have to wait until the next race meeting when we'll head to Snetterton. That will definitely be a much bigger feature there than it is here at Knockhill. And definitely looking forward to that as we ride on board with Micallef here. And, well, continuing to try and knock on the door of that P3, which he was residing in for a large part of this race, but a mistake has put him back into this position. And, well, he's going to go chasing back for it now. Josh Ladd has shown some pretty good pace over the course of this event. It's just a matter of whether he's able to hold on to that P3 that he gained just a couple of laps ago.
Oh, that's a big mistake on the exit of the chicane, though. And we've seen that from Ryan the last couple of laps, running that bit wide. And that's going to allow Joseph Loke and Matt Karuna to be able to catch up to them slowly. So instead of going towards the looking towards the front, instead going to be starting looking behind for that fifth place driver coming through. So don't write out change of positions there, but Ladd still within reaching distance of Ryan Micallef right now. We have actually got 18 cars on track right now. So amazingly, they've still kept that many on track after some of the incidents. We've had it again at the chicane. Once again, that's 3 laps in a row, making a mistake there.
This is where we start to talk about consistency, and, well, it's a bad example of consistency there for Micallef, consistently going wide at the exit of the chicane. It is one of the tougher portions of the circuit to get right, especially with those curbs being oh so threatening, but you're losing so much time every single lap doing that, and now he's getting closed in on from behind because Joseph Look and Matt Caruana have gained time hand over fist. That's about of a tenth, well, just over a tenth of a second on that last lap alone, and a circuit as short as this one, a tenth of a second is actually quite significant.
I find it actually amazing that that was only a tenth of a second that he lost there as well. So that was a big mistake, but look at this now. Look, it sees the opportunity, has closed right up to that gearbox of Ryan, and he's going to be looking, it's going to be sniffing around. We've got a third of the race remaining here in race number 1, and just look at that, just nice and calm, no emotion. That's how you need to be. You know, Jackie Stewart back in the day used to say you need to take emotion out of your racing and just make sure you do everything exactly right. And yeah, you can see those mistakes, missing apexes for Ryan Micallef in front.
Right on board with Joseph Loke, who obviously competes in the real world with JHR Development in 2022. That's actually why they, well, he missed the first 2 rounds because we had a bit of a scheduling clash. But taking part here in the 3rd race meeting. And, well, heading down in towards Taylor's. Move might be on. There's front to rear contact. Micallef does a pirouette. Somehow both of them keep going. And Matt Caruana says, thank you very much for 2 positions.
You say both keep going. That's a pit stop. And I'm afraid, in my opinion, I know the stewards will look at it afterwards. In my opinion, that's on Ryan, is that one. He moved twice, moved back in front of the car. And once you've moved, going into the braking zone, you don't want to have a car moving again across your nose in the braking zone. Look at that, straight onto pit road. Knows they need to get a new nose on that car, and yeah, we'll carry it. In fact, no, it was a drive-through penalty, so obviously accumulation of instant points.
Yeah, and well, there is an instant point. Well, there's no hard limit, so you won't get disqualified for too many instant points here in this series. However, you do get a drive-through penalty every time you get 15 instant points. There's Luke down the inside of Fairclough there, and getting the pass done in quite comfortable fashion, in fact. And well, Fairclough will almost push him all the way down the pit straight here. That's how close they are coming into turn 1 here. But Fairclough's going to think better of it and keep in behind on the way down the slight gradient there into McIntyre's. We're right on board with Fairclough through Butchers and, of course, up into that very famous chicane with those famous curbs. And it's always a bit of a handful, it seems.
Yeah, absolutely. And Deegan is somebody who will push all the way. Quite an aggressive driver from what we've seen in the early stages of this championship. Onto the brakes, just lifting off a little bit earlier, just so you don't end up with what happened to Joseph in front. And Fairclough now, 7 minutes remaining. There's still plenty of time in this. There's still about 9.5 laps for the race leaders in this one. It's absolutely crazy, but I'll tell you what, they'll love this track.
Yeah, absolutely. It's certainly a fantastic driver's circuit. And Fairclough, despite his trials and tribulations over the course of this race and the threat of additional license points looming over his head, still plus 16 on the day for Fairclough, and he's in a position where he also might benefit from a reverse grid. Of course, it's a random reverse grid. It might be P5 that's reverse grid poll, it might be P7, it might be anything in between. That's the system that we have here in the ROKiT British F4 Esports Championship. Riding on board with VisorCam with Deegan Fairclough in the Racing Star machine as he tries to chase down Joseph Loke, but he's definitely hasn't really been threatening with any moves.
Yeah, this is the view that you get in the sim when you're driving, looking forward. You can, in the sim, one of the benefits of the sim is oh, that's a big mistake! Big mistake, Joseph Loke. Not able to take advantage of those, Deegan.
No, absolutely not. Decides to back out of things. I think he might be aware that he potentially will be getting license points, and potentially he might even be close to the incident limit as well, so doesn't want to really risk a move, get a 4X car contact, and have to take the drive-through penalty. So this is actually a cautious Fairclough, which I'm not necessarily used to seeing.
But do you know what could work out, though? That is for sure. Into Duffer's Dip once again. Now, they've got to be careful because Luke McEwen is actually closing up to these two behind. His last lap was 1/10 of a second faster than Deegan. Oh, big moment again through the chicane. The thing is, though, to go fast around here, you have to abuse the curbs. You just have to, or else you're just handing over time to other drivers if you don't take those curbs. But you run the risk, like so many have in this race so far, of ending up throwing it at that scenery. The beautiful Fife scenery, it must be said. And the local farmer won't be happy picking up pizzas of Formula 4 cars.
Not at all. Not at all. We've got less than 5 minutes to go here. Again, into Duffer's Dip. There's a big mistake. Big mistake there from Joseph Loke, but he's still able to hold on to the position. Fairclough being very, very cautious indeed, making sure that he stays in this race. But with Loke, with how he was able to hold on to that car, I don't know exactly how he did that one. That was a great bit of driving there from the number 84. Not to get himself into the incident in the first place, but to be able to recover in quite comfortable fashion. That was quite a sight to see there. But again, it's just lost them a whole boatload of time to Luke McEwen, who is closing in on them further down the road.
I tell you what, it's not something that you want to see as a Formula car jumping, and that's exactly what that does at Duffer's Dip. And the thing is, I hate to break it to you, you've got no steering or brakes or acceleration when it's in the air. But it is a way of saving tyre wear, so that's one positive of that. But yeah, you don't want to be doing that in a Formula car. Just asked quite a few drivers, actually, who have hit sausage curbs in cars like this. So, yeah, well, I could start ranting about sausage curbs, but I won't do. I'll save you all this until at least the middle of the two races. But, yeah, Look actually pulling away slightly from Deegan Fairclough now. And once again, Luke McEwen, last lap was 0.3 of a second faster. Not quite close enough to be making any pressure on Deegan in front. And McEwen, for his own championship, needs to be scoring as good a points as possible.
He absolutely does. And, well, for McEwen, heading into today, he was second place in terms of championship points. And, well, he's gaining a... Fluke being so far down the order is really helping him at the moment, because Fluke is out of the points. McEwen, narrowly in the points, shall we say, in the P9 that he has at the moment. But either way, that's still a points delta that he's gaining over his championship rival, and just narrows the gap a little bit.
Don't forget, though, in front of Deegan Fairclough is Joseph Loke. Knows how to win races, was a race winner last season in the British Formula 4 Championship, so he knows what it takes. And of course, Deegan was winner of the 2022 ROKiT Racing Star Formula 4 Esports Competition UK. So yeah, he's somebody who knows how to win things. There's a big dive from the Fordzilla driver, and it's cost him big.
Yeah, Pev, hop, skip, jump across the inside of the corner there, and has to be very careful. He's got himself a slowdown penalty here at the moment that he will have to serve as a result of cutting the course. Meanwhile, a little bit further up the road, it is the battle going on between Fairclough and Loke, and now you see the Apex Racing Academy car of Luke McEwen definitely involved here in the final minutes of this race. A little look to the inside into Duffer's Dip, but you really don't want to be making a move there. But McEwen's in prime position to pick up a couple more positions, a couple of more points, to potentially get himself in a situation where he's tied, if not ahead, of Jamie Fluke at the end of this race in terms of championship.
One person will be happy out of this championship fight, of course, is Josh Ladd, the third place in this opening race of the evening. He'll be happy to get those points in towards his championship fight in the Drivers' Championship. Of course, Teams' Championship, I would say, is more important, hence why the prize money is a little bit higher for that. But the drivers, at the end of the day, they want to win. They're born to do one thing, and that's win. Drivers, and they'll be thinking about themselves first, especially if you're in Josh Ladd's situation right now.
Oh, Loke has to be so careful, though. He's a little bit slow coming through that first sector. Oh, massive slide from McEwen there, but is able to gather it up. That could have been a race-ending incident right there. Meanwhile, Berryman's come across the line to start the final lap here at Knockhill for race number 1. Fairclough with a big send to the inside on Loke. Loke's going to come back at him coming off the corner. Fairclough will give him the squeeze as they come up towards the line to start the final lap. Loke has the speed here down the pit straight to try and get himself back ahead in towards Duffer's Dip. He swings it down and in, but Fairclough's looking all over the back of him and gets towards the inside for McIntyre's, but there's an opening on the inside for Loke to try and continue the fight on the way up through the chicane. Oh, Fairclough just about gets himself ahead in that situation. We're looking back now to Luke McEwen, because McEwen is giving a good fight of it. Meanwhile, Peter Berryman taking the race win for Apex Racing Team at the front of the field, but it's undecided a little bit further back here. McEwen around the outside of Taylor's, the last chance to get it done here in this race. Looks for the speed, looks for the drive off the corner, but I don't think he's quite going to get it. Checkered flag out. Joseph Loke is able to hold on to P8, but wow, what a fight at the end.
We had fireworks at the start of the race. We had fireworks at the end of the race there. That was tremendous racing between those three. Absolutely sensational. But Pete Berryman, it must be said, emotionless across the line. He's happy to take the win. But yeah, it was dominant display from Peter and from Stanley at the front of the field. But Josh Ladd will be happy, as I say, with third place. But yeah, what a tremendous race between Deegan Fairclough, Joseph Loke and Luke McEwen.
Fantastic racing indeed. And that was just race 1 here at Knockhill. You don't want to go away because we have a second race here after we have a little bit of a break. But before we do so, we will have to decide who gets reverse grid pole position for race 2 here at Knockhill. Of course, maximum of 10, minimum of 5. What's it going to be? It goes past 7, which would be our fullest reverse grid. Oh, has it got enough momentum to go to 5? Yes, it has. 5, our smallest reverse grid available. It means Ryan McAuliffe will get himself on pole position for race 2. Caruana will be on the front row as well. So if you're Berryman and Deslantis, who came home P1, P2 in this race, you're going to be very happy about that situation. Josh Ladd in P3. He'll start exactly where he finished, I guess. There's no change for him. Matt Caruana and Ryan McAuliffe round out the top 5 and the reverse grid spots. Dion Gowda missing out on a reverse grid. Deacon Fairclough in P7 there, with Joseph Loke P8, Luke McKeown in P9, and Dimitrov in P10. Then you've got Pev in 11th place with Harrod in 12th, Alien in P13 with a good finish for YRDA Arden. We got Carl Chase there in P14. Sasha Fitzpatrick comes home in P15, 1 lap down. And well, Carl Chase was also 1 lap down. Jamie Fluke 1 lap down in 16th place as well. Not a fantastic situation for your championship leader in terms of drivers coming into today. Alex Betts will finish in P17 with Ted Bradbury in P18. Josh Poulain in P19 with Ethan Kirchley rounds out the top 20. We've had a lot of retirements in this race, by the way. It's a interesting rate of attrition. We've got William McIntyre, P21, Lewis Apiegi, P22, Dylan Warren in P23, Mira Schmidt, P24. After that big incident into the chicane on the, I think it was the second lap, I believe, there in that situation. But we've got a little bit of a break now before we head into our second race. It is a 5-car reverse grid here, Paul. That's going to be interesting because it basically keeps roughly the same names towards the very front of the field. I think if you're a Fairclough, if you're McEwen in particular, you're going to be a little bit hard done by that because you were sitting slap bang in the middle of that P5 to P10 range, and it just happens ahead of you, and P5 gets the reverse grid pole. It's unfortunate, but that's the way the cookie crumbles sometimes.
And that's the risk that you take if you're hoping for a reverse grid pole position. You know, it's what comes of it. But I tell you, one person who'll be delighted with that is Josh Ladd. Starting where he finished in race number 1, it's doing his championship a world of good. He needs to finish the race though in a strong position once again to be able to take advantage of the incidents that have happened to Fluke and McEwen in that first race. Yeah,
absolutely. And, well, we do actually have the opportunity to have a bit of an interview with our race winner. And, Paul, take that one away.
Yeah, Peter Berryman joins us here. Well, Peter, it wasn't quite like whites to flag, let's be honest, because it was second place on the grid for you. But you just played that patient game, I suppose, really. Waited for a mistake, took the opportunity. Is that really what you're having to wait for around here at Knockhill?
Yeah, you're waiting for either guys to make a mistake or for the chicane to kill you, essentially. Yeah, this track is really, really tough. There's no real method to it to get through the chicane properly. It's kind of chuck it in and it's a bit of a guess. So yeah, I'm fortunate for Stan there. I was never going to make a move. I was going to let him, he stuck it on pole. I was going to let him take the win, not cause any issues, try and break away. But yeah, I'm fortunate for him to make quite a big mistake when I was so close. Of course, I made a bunch of mistakes myself. I don't know how much you guys would have seen, but yeah, definitely a few scary moments there, and I expect more of the same in the next one.
Well, I mean, this is it. I mean, Knockhill, you're always on edge, aren't you? You don't really get a break around this track with a 46-second lap. I mean, how intense is it for you to keep that consistency, that level of consistency lap after lap around here?
Yeah, even in practice, it was really hard to focus. It's lap after lap after lap, and the lap time doesn't change too much, so it just feels like you're doing the same thing, like Groundhog Day over and over. But yeah, like especially, of course, the chicane's obviously the biggest part, but the first sector is just corner after corner. So if you slightly overheat your tires on the drop in T1, yeah, it's a bit of a roller coaster trying to get through 2 and 3 safely. Yeah.
I was gonna say, you must be happy though to forget about last time out at Alton Park. It wasn't the best of days for you there. To come here, get a win. And then fortunately for you, it's P5 reverse grid, so you're not actually that far off of the front runners again.
Yeah, best case scenario. I mean, I'm not too bad when I'm not getting crashed off. So, yeah, it's nice to finally get the win. I mainly just wanted points. Obviously, the win's best case scenario, but fortunately, Jamie had a bit of issues, so it's not really the best case for the team. But yeah, glad to maximize the first race. And again, I'm happy to sit 5th in this next race and just bag the points. Maybe take any scraps I can.
Oh, well, that was going to be my final question. Is it a case of just try and survive the opening laps, not just lap 1, but all the way up to like lap 5, lap 6, and then just focus, get yourself some points, and push yourself up through that championship and help the team as well?
Yeah, exactly that. I mean, obviously overtaking is pretty tough, but the incident limit is only 15. It seems like quite a lot, but it's very, very easy to rack the incidents up. I think I finished that last race with 9, and that's without any battling or car contact. So yeah, just trying to keep my nose clean, try and survive, and yeah, just take as many points as I can get.
Well, Peter, all the best for race number 2, and hopefully you get a good result.
Thanks very much, guys.
And up next will be our second place driver in the commentary booth here, Josh Ladd. I mean, Josh. Not Josh, sorry, it was Stanley Deslantis. Do you know what? I've been having one of those days today, Stanley. I do apologise. But yeah, Stan, it's been one of those days for you. You got pole position, which, first of all, tremendous lap from you in qualifying. But then that chicane, you just get that little mistake. Is it so easy to have that mistake happen around here?
Yeah, like the car is really inconsistent around the chicane, so you hit it slightly wrong, the curb on the right just shoots you off into the gravel, and yeah, that's how I lost the lead, and Pete just managed to pull away towards the end.
But still, second place, really good result for you. You're going to be starting 4th place in race number 2. I mean, looking at this championship as a whole, we're getting towards the halfway point. How do you sort of think things have been going for yourself so far? I think we have just lost Stanley there, unfortunately.
Unless he's just staring you down.
Okay, no.
Yeah, there, we've got him back. We've got him back there. Maybe it's just a really rubbish question, but no, but you know, just to ask again then for your benefit, looking at this series as a whole, we've had the first half of the championship near enough. After this race up to the halfway point, how do you see things going so far this season?
I mean, first round went pretty good for me, managed to pick up a win. Second round scored no points, so struggled there. But I think the key to this championship is just consistency, because it's kind of a 3-horse race at the front with ART and Josh Ladd and Spets. So we just got to stay consistent and hopefully can pick up the win at the end.
And well, I mean, your team coming into this round was second place, you know, so you got to think about the team as well here, and it's some really good points for the team. Second race, we heard from Peter. He said he's going to be very much a case of just try and sit back, get some points for the championship, and go into the next round at Snetterton. You know, are you trying to move forward, or are you thinking sort of similar?
I'm thinking similar. Just stay consistent, try and just keep the car on track, and yeah, pick up some solid points. No need to force any moves, especially around this tight track.
Yeah, it is a difficult track. Well, we'll wish you all the best for the second race of the night.
Thank you.
And now we will go through to our third place driver, Josh Ladd, who joins us now. And Josh, I mean, you came into this this race looking good in the championship fight. 2 of your championship rivals have had a bit of a mare in race 1. You must be happy with third place.
Yeah, I was pretty happy. I mean, I think probably Stanley and Peter said the same thing. It's a pretty horrible track to drive in a car this slow. So yeah, I was just happy to stay on the track really, and the position was all I could ask for. Those guys were way ahead after the start, especially after a dodgy qualifying from me.
Well, that's it. I mean, we've got to commend you for the gaining 4 positions through the race. I mean, yeah, you've gained a couple of positions through incidents, but you also had to make some moves as well, and having to make the move on Ryan, taking advantage of a little mistake from him through the chicane. I mean, it shows that overtaking is possible if difficult.
Yeah, you got to be a bit forceful. Luckily, yeah, I could see I was probably going to catch Ryan, and then seeing him go off just made the job a bit easier. But it was quite important to get past him because this Joseph Loke was quite fast behind me, so I wanted to put a car between me and him. But yeah, I had quite a big gap at the end, so could just relax and keep the incidents down.
Well, you're going to be starting the second race of the evening where you finished in 3rd place. So you must be feeling comfortable there in your Munster Rugby Gaming team car and looking forward to maybe getting yourself another podium, if not moving forward.
Hopefully, but yeah, I mean, I think 2 of the top 5 were out after half a lap of the first lap last race, so anything can happen.
Absolutely. Well, Josh, get yourself prepared for the second race and all the best for race number 2.
Cheers.
Well, there we go. A little bit of a chat to all of our podium finishers there as we get ourselves set and ready for our second race of the race meeting, I suppose. It's this Knockhill circuit has really challenged the drivers here today, and that has been made completely obvious not only in the interviews that we just had with a couple of our drivers, but from what happened out there on circuit in the first race as well. It's very difficult to negotiate this track on your own, let alone trying to fight with 25 other cars. So I get the frustration from a lot of the drivers. I get the anxiety as well in a lot of instances. Do you think, as a result, though, with how that first race went for a large amount of the drivers, Paul, do you think there's going to be any karma in this second race? Can I even say that word?
I mean, for me, if you're someone like Jamie Fluke, who didn't score any points in that first race of the day there, or if you're Luke McEwen, who only got a couple of points there for finishing in 9th place, those two need to be trying moving forward and trying to get positions in this second race. They need to get points where they can to help themselves in their own drivers' championship, but not only that, to help the team out as well in the teams championship here in this one. So they'll be thinking, I need to move forward. We heard from the top 3 there, they're all pretty happy to try and sort of stay up in that place to get themselves some good championship points for themselves and for their team. So we could see some people sort of throw the hats into the ring here to potentially get a race win. We saw that Ryan McAuliffe, he has the speed there, he has the potential there to get a podium place. I think what he needs to do is just work on that consistency a little bit. Made a few mistakes towards the end of that first race, maybe a little bit of fatigue coming into play there, not just physical but mental fatigue could come into play around this track. But he could have a good shout at this one, starting from pole position. I was saying in the middle of that first race, this circuit, like Alton Park last time out, they are 2 tracks where if you know exactly where to place your car, you can make it almost impossible for somebody to get around you. But you can make overtakes. You just got to work at it.
Yeah, it requires a little bit of elbow grease, let me tell you that. But as we are approximately about 7.5 minutes, I would say, before we get the starting grid starting to be formed for race 2, we'll give it gives us a little bit of an opportunity to thank our partners here in the ROKiT British F4 Esports Championship. Of course, title sponsor ROKiT, thank you very much for the support. Of course, they support the series in the real world as well. Thank you very much to SimuCube, to Base Performance as well, to the Virtual Reality Racing Club, to the World Sim Racing, which help organize this series. And of course, the Motorsports UK for sanctioning everything and putting all of this together. It is very much appreciated. And another situation where the parity between esports and the real life racing is certainly on display. And we definitely need more things like this.
Absolutely, and I'm really enthused to see Motorsport UK to really start more seriously dipping their toes into sim racing and to get more involved in sim racing. It's great to see championships like this or other events that we're looking at in the future as well from them. I mean, I'm speaking myself as somebody who used to be a motorsport marshal in rallying, so I was somebody who was involved well, you can tell how old I am. It was Motorsport Association back then. It's Motorsport UK now, but you know, I was a registered marshal for rallying, and I know what they cover. So much of motorsport. You know, everyone thinks of what you see on TV, either with circuit racing or with rallying or with motorcycle race, you know, whatever it is. But they do autocross, they do auto solos, they're involved in all sorts, you know, grass track racing. It's tremendous. If you are a motorsport fan and you're interested in volunteering, I do strongly suggest having the best seat in the house, which is being a marshal. They're always looking out for volunteers to get involved in motorsport, and yeah, it's such a rewarding job being a motorsport marshal. So I would certainly recommend that for people. But my knees got a bit bad. My knees and ankles got a bit bad, so I had to step aside from marshalling, and instead I took up the commentary box. And well, I'm sure some people are happy about that.
Well, I'll just make no comment. There we go.
Thank you for that support.
Yeah, so that's my vote of confidence, I suppose. But yeah, you know, there's a huge amount of volunteers especially in the real world motorsports that you know, with the marshals and all that we simply can't have racing without them, and their support and them being there and giving up their time is very much appreciated. However, we don't have marshals in sim racing, so we can't give the same sort of praise here in this particular discipline.
But what I would say is, in sim racing, there are still a lot of positions that are voluntary, or you know, if you know of a private league that you're racing, you can maybe help them out with, you know, post-race stewarding if you have that, or you know, help with the organization of the series, even if it's just collecting paints for the different cars and putting it together in a paint pack for the series and for the broadcasters. And little jobs that can really build a championship rely again on volunteers. So it shows how, again, there's parallels between the sim world and the real world.
And well, you know, that's what we talk about when we talk about community racing here in sim racing. Yes, we have these big championships that may or may not ask for a fee to enter, and may or may not have big prize pools. However, there are, you know, smaller leagues that you know, you could just rock up and try to, you know, try to compete, try to get podiums, try to get race wins, and so, you know, there's something for every single level in sim racing, which is why it's such a good avenue into the sports, and it's definitely a much lower barrier to entry, which is fantastic to see, because you want to get everyone involved. You want to sort of expand the talent pool as much as possible to see who might rise to the top, and we've seen that on previous occasions here in sim racing. So the future is certainly very, very bright. However, we do have to bring the discussion back to the British F4 Esports Championship here, Paul, because of course, coming into this race too, like I said, we have that reverse grid, but we also have drivers perhaps in a little bit better starting positions than they were in race number one. Talking primarily about Deegan Fairclough here, what can he do from a position that's not the very back of the starting grid? That's my question, because he was absolutely rapid heading his way through the field here.
Well, gained 17 places in that first race, did Deegan, so did an extremely good job. What can happen in the second race? I mean, more of the same. I mean, if we get more of the same, he'll win the race. So, you know, never say never in sim racing, but I think that would be a tall order. But getting himself some good points, getting himself into that top 6 would be a good, realistic perspective for what we could look for in the second race. But you know, there's a couple of the drivers out there who won't have been happy with how things went in that first race. We're starting from the back. Will we see hard charging races from them at the back of the grid moving forward? So we'll watch this one with a keen eye.
Yeah, we absolutely will. And, well, it was a little bit of a chaotic affair, it's probably fair to say, at least in the opening stages of race number one here for our third race meeting of the British F4 Esports Championship. But we've got race 2 coming up very, very shortly indeed. And, well, we got ourselves a little bit of a reset here as far as the racing is concerned. There's the warm-up going on right now. Track conditions haven't really changed from race number one. 33 degrees in terms of track temperature. A bit windy though, which is not surprising considering where we are.
No, but I mean, these cars, they won't be as affected, but they will still be affected by that wind. So it will have an effect on the cars, maybe make them a little bit unstable in one or two corners. But with these cars, because the aerodynamics don't have too much of an effect on them, it won't affect them as much as it would, say, a Formula 3 or even a Formula 1 car, for example. But still, you will feel that to some degree in these cars, with them being low weight, small Formula cars, which rely on wings. So, yeah, drivers taking that opportunity to get some practice in, and they need all the practice they can get with these conditions.
Yeah, indeed they do. And, well, a little bit of racecraft practice going on as well with the side-by-side through Taylors as we ride on board with one of the prismatic cars on the way in towards Duffer's Dip there. But 10 seconds left remaining here, at least in this warm-up session. Then we can start to form the starting grid for race 2 here at the Knockhill Racing Circuit up in Scotland. Dunfermline 5 to be exact. And another 30-minute event imminent here in these IR04 cars. Session just about switching over now into racing modes, and then we can have a little bit of a look at what the starting grid is like for race 2, including that 5-car reverse grid that we got. So Ryan Mikulev gets himself onto pole position, and it makes a Kimura performance 1-2 front row lockout for them, as it's Matt Caruana that starts in P2. Josh Ladd starts in P3 with Stanley Deslanders in P4, Peter Berryman P5, and Dion Gowda rounds out the top 6 starters. Deegan Verkov will start in 7th with Joseph Loke in P8, with Luke McEwen and Georgi Dimitrov in P10, 9 and 10 respectively. Peo Pev and Pete Harrod round out the top 12. We've got about 20 seconds left before we get the green flag. So Aline, we've got Chase, we've got Fitzpatrick, Fluke, Spets, and Bradbury rounding out the top 18 cars. And then pool lane, we've got Critchley, McIntyre, Apayegi, Warren, and Schmidt rounding out the top 24. And, well, that's the entire 24-car starting grid here that we have for race number 2. We're about to go racing once again here in the ROKiT British F4 Esports Championship. What's going to happen this time around at the famous Scottish racing circuit? We're off and away once again here. Green flag is out, and it's a good start from pole position for Mikulev. He gets clear on the way into Duffer's Dip for the first time, and front 3 actually getting themselves single file. Meanwhile, double file back in the pack. There's a car around, there's an Apex machine around, it's Jamie Fluke, and it's collected a good couple of cars back through the field. Absolute chaos towards the very back there. And for Jamie Fluke, well, this is a day to forget.
Is this a day where he loses a championship? That's what I would be asking right now. He came into this day as championship leader, but right now he is scoring no points all evening. That's not good. What else is not good? It's going 3 wide. Oh, there's a car slow. That's Lurk running wide through Taylors. That's lost a ton of positions. Wonder if I'd slow down penalty on this opening lap, but it's absolute carnage. Chaos. It's fantastic.
2x2 into Duffer's Dip. Gowda into the side of Dimitrov. Dimitrov out and sliding across the circuit, out of bounds basically, as there's more battling going on. McEwen getting bullied out of line there a little bit by Dion Gowda. Well, we were hoping that things would have calmed down from race number 1, and it certainly has not here in race 2, as Berryman and Deslanders just having a little bit of a swap around. Yeah, Mara Caruana actually dropping further down the order. Not sure what exactly happened to the number 26 car. May have been contact with one of the Munster Rugby Gaming cars, but we will have to confirm via a replay, and our director is probably furiously trying to get clips of everything that's happened there on the first 2 laps.
Yeah, who'd be a TV director right now trying to sort all this mess out? But it's been a chaotic start. We've got 5 cars on pit road on this one. So, yeah, not an ideal start. Pete Berryman's up a place, up into 4th place. You've got Deslanders actually moving forward as well, up into 3rd. Josh Ladd, though, will be happy with that. 2nd place, doing his championship a world of good. But Berryman and Deslanders, they want to move forward in all of this. They don't need to do it straight away. Hear what happened then on lap 2. Oh, that's tricky to call from that one quick look there. 2 cars going into one does not go. But it was exit stage right there. But we do carry on with these pictures. But McAuliffe right now at the front, 0.6 of a second lead.
Yeah, starting to build up that gap is McAuliffe at the very front of the field, and I don't blame him because I don't want to be back in any of these packs here at the moment. Seems like quite a dangerous place to be. Meanwhile, Stanley Deslanders has gained a position over Josh Ladd, but Josh Ladd's going to come back at him. Deslanders taking a little bit too much out of the circuit on the exit of the corner. Josh Ladd's able to work his way back through. Berryman's also sticking his nose in here into this entire situation through Taylor's. He refused to fight, or didn't want to fight Deslanders, at least in that first race for the race lead, but seemingly no problem getting alongside him here in this one, though.
Backing out of it, though, realises that he's not going to get alongside enough to make the move into Duffers. But, yeah, that was a mistake from Ladd, I believe, on the exit of the chicane. As Pete Berryman said, it's a question of whether it spits you out, that chicane. Oh, Ladd, all manner of sideways through the chicane that time. Keeps it on the grey stuff, though. This is great stuff to watch. And Deslanders now, not as good a run through Clark. This could be an opportunity for Berryman if he wanted to, but it doesn't look so.
Yeah, Berryman has been taking this race meeting in a very, very conservative fashion, at least so far. Wanting to get these points on the board, which he struggled with. Oh, that's what's happened to one of the prismatic cars. That's number 41. So that is, yeah, Sergio Fitzpatrick, who started P15 after keeping herself largely out of trouble in the first race. Did have a spin and did end up going a lap down, but still ended up getting towards the end. But yeah, losing the positions now down into P17. Oh, out wide there towards the very front of the field. That's a bit of a sketchy situation there with Stanley Deslanders. Caruana behind. Fairclough also on the outside looking into this one as well.
Deslanders, I think, is going to have a change of underpants after that one. That was a wild ride. Speaking of wild, Deacon Fairclough throws the car in, backs it into the side of the car of Caruana, and Luke McEwen says, okay, I'll take a position as well out of all this. Luke's looking. He wants to get past Deacon here. We've seen how aggressive Deacon has been in these races so far this evening, and once again, that was a very, very ambitious and aggressive move from Deegan into Taylor's.
It's the Fairclough special, and it's not the sort of move that really wins you any friends in the paddock. Let's just say that. But Luke McEwen, currently in his slipstream here at the moment, is a pass going on for P2, as well as Berryman looking down the inside of Josh Ladd. Gets the position done. Can he keep it? Coming off the corner, though, it's one thing to get past through Taylor's. It's another thing to try and hold on to it down the pit straight, especially if the driver you're going up against gets a better run. And that's the case here, as Ladd gets himself to the inside for Duffer's dip and retakes the position.
Yeah, there's a couple of these drivers have taken a sensible pill after race number 1 up here at the front and deciding, do you know what, it's discretion is the better form of battle, but still, Berryman's in there, 3rd place. A win in the 3rd place wouldn't go amiss around here. These guys, though, they are a second and a half off of the race leader, so all this scrapping is not helping them at all, but we've got plenty of time in this race. There's still loads of time to go. There's no need to drive like your pants are on fire.
Oh, we had that's what happened on lap 1, turn 1, basically, with Jamie Fluke, and the absolute mess that it caused. Oh boy, yeah, that one definitely wasn't pretty there, and I mean, it's a lap 1, turn 1 incident. Yes, there's a little bit of leeway when it comes to that, but these guys knew exactly what happened in race 1. Fairclough out of shape. Fairclough narrowly avoids the tyre barriers. Oh, that racing star car has gone for a bit of a ride there, and definitely not the first time this event either.
Fairclough is giving us a bit of entertainment in this race, that's for sure. He's been throwing some moves, he's been throwing the car at the scenery as well after that one, but away he goes, falls down to 10th place. Meanwhile, Ted Bradbury has got Matt Caruana in front. Caruana will be thinking, what on earth did I do wrong before this race? Did I have a black cat walk in front of me? It's just gone backwards here.
Yeah, -6 here in this race so far. We're riding on board with Ted Bradbury at the moment. And, well, that Arden car, getting so close to the back of Caruana. Caruana makes it down the inside of Pev as Ted Bradbury tries to follow through at his tyre tracks, but the door is shut in his face, and Pev keeps himself ahead of that particular position.
Oh, that was never on there, Ted. I know you were trying to take advantage of that, but oh, down the inside into Taylor's. Wow, that's a move. What a move. Oh, there's contact behind. We've got cars in the wall. That's Pev. Pev is in the wall. Ted Bradbury's on pit road. It's absolute mayhem.
There might have been a bit of contact that snapped the suspension there. At least that's the optimistic view of it. I'll have to try and get my own view to see if there's anything untoward. And, well, unfortunately, in my own view, we might be able to get a replay of this. This is not looking great for Pev as far as the stewards are concerned. Just a hint.
Spares all over the track there, and all over the gravel as well. And having to go defensive now on Deegan Fairclough in towards Taylor's. Well, you'd think this was the last race of the season with everyone having an opportunity. Here's a replay then. Contact. Oh. Now, is that a hardware failure?
It could be.
Potentially.
Benefit of the doubt. However, stewards will have a decision to make on that one.
It didn't look good at all.
It didn't look as for those unfamiliar with sim racing, and in particular here on iRacing, sometimes when your wheel disconnects, it does sort of lurch itself to the sides like that. But usually it's sort of a binary 100% steering lock, and I don't think that was absolute 100% steering lock there in that situation. So interesting one. We'll have to see what the explanation to the stewards is, but I get the feeling that didn't quite work out in the way he was planned, if he was planning to do that, because in the end he just takes himself out of the race rather than anyone else, which is quite humorous and maybe a little bit of karma.
To quote Martin Brundle, you hit him in the wrong part of the car, my friend.
Yeah.
As we carry on.
Trying to dump someone out of the race and you just dump yourself. That's the situation.
Big sideways moment there, Deegan Fairclough. My goodness, he is pushing that car.
Very much.
And yeah, we've got battling up at the front as well. Josh Ladd and Pete Berryman, they're swapping positions as well. Ryan McAuliffe is going, go on boys, start fighting, slow each other down. I need to run away here.
They have kind of reeled him in a little bit, though. So that's a little bit worrying if you're Mikalev. So if there's a situation where Ladd, Berryman, Deslanders can just get themselves some clean laps, they are reeling in the race leader. So that might be a little bit of information that the team might want to give Berryman here. It's just like, oh, Berryman, just chill for a little bit. Ladd, both you and Ladd are catching the race leader. If you want to have a chance at a race win, potentially it might be prudent to back off in this situation, but maybe not in that sense, as he now loses the position to the sister car of Deslanders.
Yeah, Deslanders then making the move, and that's allowed Josh Ladd to focus forward. Oh, Deegan Fairclough is dropping down the order on our timing sheet as well. So all manner of things. We've got lap traffic getting involved here as well. You got Luke McEwen involved in there. What a race for Luke. Oh, that lap car has actually got so far off the track that it's ended up in the wall. As Lewis Apaye, and well, not the best of days for Lewis after not finishing race one. Luke McEwen, a driver who had issues in race one, only finished 9th. 5th place though. Good recovery drive from him. Oh God, blimey, look at Pete Berryman, he's all over the place.
Yeah, well, he is. Indeed he is. And, well, oh, look at this. All over the back of McEwen now as Berryman falling down the order. Not the situation he would have desired whatsoever, especially after an absolutely fantastic race one. P5 is still not too bad of a finish, and, well, we still have 18 minutes left, so he has ample opportunity to try and recover from this one. It's just be a little bit harder for him now, as he has, well, the 2 Apex Racing Academy cars ahead of him. This is great for the Apex Academy here at the moment. P3, P4, that's a healthy amount of points here in race 2. Yes, they have Josh Ladd from Monster Rugby Gaming finishing ahead of them, but Specs is now all the way down in P8.
Yeah, so could be a good day in the books for that Apex Racing Academy team. Oh, cars running wide, and McAuliffe now coming under a little bit of pressure. It's half a second, and he's got a queue of cars behind him. First through to fifth, all covered by just 2.5 seconds here. So Ryan now, he can't afford to be racing in his mirrors. He needs to look forward. He needs to keep on just hitting his marks, making sure he gets the apexes. Not make any mistakes, because as soon as you start racing in your mirrors, that's when the mistakes come in.
I think even without any mistakes here for McAuliffe, he's still being closed in on by Josh Ladd and in turn Deslandis as well. So McAuliffe's going to have a very big task on his hands to try and hold on to this one. Berryman is in more issues, and in massive issues for Berryman, rejoining onto the circuit with traffic coming. That number 50 car looking damaged, crabbing a little bit here is the Apex Racing Team car. And what has happened here? Because it was coming out of the chicane, which has been a big trouble spot. Oh, just launches it over. And that's what happens when you get the chicane so wrong. It punishes you.
I mean, I said it's a one-line corner, is that corner, that chicane. Unfortunately, Peter took the wrong line. He absolutely launched it over those sausage curbs. Again, I could get onto sausage curbs, but I won't. But that sent him off into the gravel trap. Fortunately for him, he was able to carry on. But yeah, that car did not look to be driving entirely in a straight line. We've only got 16 cars on track right now. There's been quite a few cars end up into the pit lane, so been a high rate of attrition in the opening half of the race.
I think that's what we could have really expected here heading into Knockhill. It's not an easy circuit. Meanwhile, McIntyre down the inside of Gouda, and Dimitrov just sends it in and completely wipes out the number 55. That one wasn't very pretty whatsoever. Sending it in from that far back, never going to happen.
Yeah, Dimitrov onto pit road with a drive-through penalty, so that sent him over the instant limit to a drive-through penalty there. Does mean that Pete Harrod moves up into 10th place, Pete Berryman up into 9th now after dropping to 10th with that issue at the chicane. But at the front four now, they've got to be careful because, it's lap traffic behind. Joseph look right now has been lapping a little bit quicker than those cars in the front four, so if he keeps this up, he could eventually bring himself into this top four fight.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. I absolutely wouldn't be surprised here in this situation. Here's a little bit of another look. The incident that we just saw. I mean,
that was always going to happen. I'm sorry, that was always going to happen there. And Georgie, I'm afraid that's on you there. That was ambition above the chance.
It's a Brundle quote, isn't it?
Well, no, there was adhesion there. Oh, there's Deslandis then looking to the outside. Josh Ladd feeling the need to go defensive, and here comes Luke McEwen on his teammate. Luke is no respecter of personalities, but he's fallen back in line. The sprightly 17-year-old. I commentated on him last year in a series that was run by World Sim Racing, it must be said, and such an incredible talent is Luke, and it's just a matter of time before he ended up at Apex. I think it was a team that will fit him well. And look at that defensive line by Ryan McAuliffe.
Yeah, McAuliffe made the mistake. He gets forced wide, and actually Ladd goes wide, and all of a sudden from P3, Stanley Deslandis goes to the race lead with his sister car right behind, or rather his teammate right behind him of Luke McEwen. It's a fight behind them though between Ladd and McAuliffe as McAuliffe tries to hold on to these positions, but we saw these mistakes from Ryan in the first race, Paul, and they've come back to bite him again in race 2.
Yeah, and it's that lack of consistency. I said, needed to work on that consistency. If he got that, he would have a good shout at a win. But unfortunately for him, mistakes have creeped into his racing once again, and that's allowed others to advantage. Josh Ladd, he would have thought, finally, I get the chance at the lead, but then he's in the wrong place at the wrong time, going into Clark's, and that allows the 2 Apex Racing Academy cars to go through.
Yeah, it does. And, well, It was a scruffy chicane for the both of them that last time by as well between Lad and Mikolev. So yeah, it takes a while for the heart rate to come down after you've had a scary moment. Here's a replay of it. Mikolev immediately going the defense. He knew exactly what happened and had to try and hold on to the positions. And the seas parted for both of the Apex Racing Academy cars. I bet Alex Simpson, who I know is watching this, will be absolutely loving his Academy cars being up there. He'll just not be happy that his main cars, Pete Berry and Jamie Fluke, have been involved in several incidents. But still, great 1-2 for the Academy team so far for them. And we'll look at an issue there for the 18 and around the go. So that is Will McIntyre once again. Sorry, race lead.
Deslanders
making a mistake in towards Taylor's. Oh, that was unforced as well. So that now it's Luke McEwen that goes to the race lead, and Deslanders to the back of the 4-car train for the race lead.
Well, this race just keeps on giving us more and more action into Taylor's it was, and yeah, snap! So that's just changing down gears, and he might have accidentally clicked it down to first gear. That would have locked up the rears, and half spin, around he goes. Alexander Spetz has just had a drive-through penalty. Joseph Loke has a drive-through penalty as well, as more action.
Yeah, more action. Deslanders going the long way around on Mikolev here in towards Taylor's. Looks to try and take the big wide arc through to try and carry the speed on towards the pit straight. He has the slipstream now. He's wiggling the steering wheel, trying to put Mikolev off, but no move being made here down in towards Duffer's Dip. Meanwhile, like you said, there's been an interesting situation happen further behind because we've got drive-through penalties being served. That's Loke serving a drive-through penalty at the moment. We'll drop him further down the order. I gotta say, though, in terms of top 10s, we got Spetz that's barely holding on to a point here at the moment, of course, with everything that's been going on. And the reserve driver from Bismatic, Fitzpatrick, actually on the border of a points finish here, which would be absolutely crazy. That just goes to show how much keeping yourself out of trouble here in these sorts of races will absolutely pay dividends, even if you may not have the clear air pace.
Yeah, it was Ryan McAuliffe actually who was giving it the wiggle to start with, to say, no, you're not coming past here. And Stanley gave it the wiggle back going, yeah, I'm coming past. Maybe not now, but at some point. But yeah, those two, they've slowed each other down, and that's allowing McEwen and Josh Ladd to pull away in front, up over the chicane. A third of the race to go here. And yeah, you're absolutely right. Circe Fitzpatrick has got William McIntyre and Dion Gowda behind her. So Circe under a bit of pressure, but in 11th place. What a great second race. Here we go.
Here we go, down to the inside goes Deslanders, and the door wide open from Mikolev, but it's a bit of a ruse because Mikolev is able to get the speed off the corner and have the performance on the way down the pit straight, and gets to the inside for Duffer's Dip as well. So a great response from Mikolev there. He's got to be careful not to overcook it through the first corner there, but he is able to hold on, and Deslanders will have to try and find another way at getting back around in towards the chicane, which has been a big trouble spot for your drivers here today, and it's the trouble spot once again for Mikolev. He's been perhaps the driver that's been most struggling with that corner, and again, that right-hander wasn't ideal either, and Deslanders is able to get alongside down the back straight. Meanwhile, of course, further down the road, they've got a bit of lap traffic, potentially, that might factor into this one. Deslanders, long way around, they bang wheels, and Mikolev has to fall behind.
And that was it. Deslanders had the great run around the outside, got the move done on the exit of Taylor's. Yes, there was a little touch of wheels there, but Deslanders then, Stanley doing a sterling job getting up into third place. I think if I'm Apex Racing team boss Alex Simpson, I'll be tearing my hair out at all this that's happening between these two. He has said, think of the points. Well, yeah. He's got himself up into third place now, so that's more points for the Academy team.
Yeah, well, we're on board with Mikolev from Kimura Performance. It was a front row lockout for their team thanks to the reverse grid here in race 2, but hasn't exactly converted into a huge points day for them. But Mikolev in fourth place, still putting one up. Oh, what's that? Oh, Joseph Loke having massive problems and having to rejoin back onto the circuit. Meanwhile, there's a little bit of a swap around as Deslandis' connection seems to be an issue once again.
Yeah, not only freezing on us in the interview, but also freezing on the drivers. They're out on track as well. Alex, I think you need to invest in a new internet connection for Stanley. But yes, that was Lurk, and that means that Joseph Lurk now moves down to 9th place. Here it is. It's with Pete Harrod. And yeah, just carrying too much speed into Clark's. Pete decides, do you know what? I'm taking to the gravel, and around he goes.
Yeah, indeed. Well, we got 7 minutes left to go. Still ample time, excuse me, for things to change. We've got a driver coming down into a drive-through penalty due to incident limits. That's Corey Alien in the number 20 car. Coming down in, and well, I get the feeling there'll be a few more by the time this race is done. I'll be completely honest here. Lots of drivers have made mistakes, especially out of the chicane, and actually a fair few out of Clark as well. That also seems to be a very big issue for these drivers here today. And every time you go off circuit here, or iRacing thinks that you've gone off circuit, you do get that one instant point, and it does add up. And when you've been banging wheels with drivers, those 4Xs add up as well.
Yeah, they do, and they add up fast. Trust me from experience. I know that they add up fast, but things have settled now. Stanley Deslandis now just able to pull away and basically just get head down, focus forward, and that means that Ryan McAuliffe is going to have to look at a 4th place with his teammate in 5th. Not being the best of days best of races, should I say, for the two of them after starting on the front row of the grid, both down 3 places. But Matt Caruana has actually made a little bit of a comeback after being down 6 places at one point.
Yeah, it was a big recovery drive for Caruana to get back up into that 5th place position at the moment. We're on board with Mikolev, though, as he has Deslandis a little bit further down the road. Of course, way too far back to be thinking about any moves just yet, but we've got still just over 5 minutes and a good handful of laps for Mikolev to try and close in this gap. It's going to be a big ask, though, against Deslandis, that's for certain, especially when you're so sketchy up over the curbs at the chicane.
Certainly up around the right-hander at Clark's, and down the railway straight, so it's not very straight in towards Taylor's. I do have to say, though, this is it's my first round commentating on the championship, but it's been action-packed here in the ROKiT British F4 Esports Championship, and definitely one to enjoy at home as well.
It has been. It's been action from the drop of the green flag, and we've got yet more action going on with Pete Harrod in the number 21 car, looking to try and get past Dimitrov, who's been in the wars over the course of this event. Dimitrov slow out of Taylor's, gives the run to Harrod, as Harrod will have to try and complete this one on the outside in towards Duffer's Dip, and well, he's going to cut his losses there and just try and back out of that one. Not going to go side by side through the first sector, at least initially, but McIntyre's, there was a look to the outside there, but unsuccessful at really drawing himself alongside. Into the chicane they come, 2 tyres out into the gravel for Dimitrov, which can be done, but you're sort of playing with fire like that.
Yeah, you are. You're absolutely right there, Connery. And the problem for Pete now is that he's got Dimitrov's team right behind. Oh, that was too much there, Pete. Locked up the brakes into Taylor's, and that allows Joseph Luck to go past. Well, he's going to try and see out the end of this race there, but well, I think that's pretty much a slam dunk penalty that's going to be heading Pete Harrod's way.
Yeah, let's just say that. I mean, that's one of the more obvious ones that we've seen all day. So that one's going to be very quick for the stewards to decide, but they've got a laundry list of protests and incidents to go through, no doubt, once this race is done. But the driver that's kept himself out of trouble, Luke McEwen, number 22, at the very front of the field. 3 seconds is the advantage that he has over Josh Ladd behind. And he's got his teammate of Deslandis in P3 as well. Remember, this is primarily a team's championship, and Apex Racing Academy showing everyone how it's done here at the moment and doing miles better than even their main team cars. They're not even the primary team for Apex.
As Pete Harrod is still trying to make some moves on Georgy Dimitrov, and yeah, those two certainly getting acquainted to each other, maybe not in the way that they would like, and are not going to be on Christmas card lists, that's for sure. William McIntyre has headed down onto pit road for a drive-through penalty here once. He's just served it actually now, so that's down a position and down a lap as well for William. I will want to point out as well, Luke McEwen, fastest lap of the race, a 46.5. A tenth faster than his teammates' fastest lap. So Apex Racing Team, they have got things sorted out as Dimitrov now onto pit road.
Actually bringing the car to a stop there, has a meatball flag, so required repairs for Dimitrov. With how much contact he's had over the course of this race, I'm not really surprised. So the iRacing system has determined there's too much damage on that car and he has to come down in to get it fixed, just like they would in the real world if you were having bits and pieces hanging off your car that causes a danger to other drivers. It sort of replicates that sort of situation here on iRacing. But we've just got just shy of 1 minute 20 seconds left to go here. And McEwen has got himself a very, very healthy advantage indeed. We'll take the time, of course, to thank the sponsors of the series, our title sponsor, ROKiT, for this British F4 Esports Championship. They sponsor the real world side of things as well. Thank you very much for your support. We've also got CineQ as well as one of our major sponsors. We've got Base Performance, we've got VRRC, the Virtual Reality Racing Club, and WSR, the World Sim Racing, who help organize this series in partnership with Motorsports UK as well. But we've had a good time here at Knockhill for the third race meeting of the championship, and well, it might end up being Luke McEwen coming across the line to take the race win here. Can't say anything for certain whatsoever. That's probably a given, but you know, it's been a very, very simple race for McEwen, at least in the sort of second half of things.
It wasn't so simple at the start, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's had a good run at the front once he was able to get away from Josh Ladd. There's Barney waving the white flag, so one more lap to go here in this race, and Luke just has to pedal that car around to get himself a good result here. But yeah, it's been great racing. Bit of a rate of attrition once again. 14 cars left running in this race, but certainly Luke McEwen, he won't be worried about that.
No worries whatsoever as he heads his way through Clark and onto the back straight for the final time. Luke McEwen, the number 22, has already gotten a race win in the bag this season. He's going to add another one to his tally as he heads his way through the final corner at Taylor's. Just a straight old drive to the line now for Luke McEwen for the Apex Racing Academy. Takes the race to win here at Knockhill in the ROKiT British F4 Esports Championship. Josh Ladd comes home in P2 with Stanley Deslanders P3, making it an Apex Racing Academy 1 and 3, gaining a whole bunch of points from the race meeting here today. They're definitely going to be in the lead of the championship, and well, it's just going to be a matter of how much. Everyone else heading their way across the line now, and we're waiting for the final points finishers to head their way through as well. Dion Gouda is the final points finisher in that instance, I believe. But yeah, interesting events. Great two races, but affected a lot by the incidents that we had out on circuit. The attrition wasn't so fantastic, but sometimes that's just Knockhill.
And yeah, and that's what you're going to get with this circuit with so many cars, 24 cars on the grid, close racing, and when you've got championship drivers who are so close time-wise as well, you're always going to end up with some incidents, unfortunately. But two drivers who are delighted with, well, three drivers that are delighted with that are the podium sitters, so they'll be happy to get themselves those and win the points.
They absolutely will. Here are the unofficial race results then from race 2 at Knockhill. We've got Luke McEwen taking the race win by 4.6 seconds over Josh Ladd. Of course, Josh Ladd second place, still a good amount of points for that position. However, it's definitely not enough to be able to stem the flow of points towards Apex Racing Academy here at the moment, with a third place for Stanley Deslanders. Ryan McAuliffe in P4 with Matt Caruana in P5. So a good performance here in race 2 for Kimura Performance. That will propel them a little bit further up the order. Peter Berryman, P6 here today. So not as great as his race 1 finish, but still up there, solidly in the points. Joseph Loke in his first 2 races, actually double points finish for the number 84. Fantastic to see for the JHR development car. We've got Pete Harrod in P8 with Alex Betts in P9. Dion Gowder, the final driver, getting themselves points here today, and actually he was 1 lap down as well, so just goes to show the rate of attrition here. We got William McIntyre in P11, Sesha Fitzpatrick with a decent finish considering reserve driver status in P12, Ethan Critchley in P13 with Corey Alien in P14. We got Dimitrov in P15, Bradbury 16th, Faircliff 17th, Apiegi 18th, Schmidt in 19th, and Hev running at the top 20. And then we've got Warren, Hulan, Fluke and Chase running out the top 20, well, the 24 car finishing results here at Knockhill. So as we get our breath back a little bit, we'll get ourselves ready and waiting and to have a little bit of a conversation with some of the drivers waiting for an interview here at the moment here, Paul. And well, it was an action-packed race too. Actually, in the last 2 laps though, it seemed like everything had calmed down just a little bit, and it was a bit of a cruise to the end for Luke McEwen. But the main story that I do want to talk about here was how awful of a time that Fluke was having. 0 points coming out of today, which you wouldn't expect from a championship leader. Berryman, yes, he won the first race, but dropped back in the second event. Meanwhile, there's Apex Academy cars, the second team. Well, they're not really proving themselves to be the second team at the moment, having all the consistency in the world to gain the top couple of spots. It was an impressive performance from them, and less impressive from Fluke, even though you could argue the incidents weren't necessarily his fault, especially in that second race.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's just wrong place, wrong time for Jamie in this race. The people who were in the right place at the right time were, of course, the Apex Racing Academy cars. Don't forget about Josh Ladd, though. Tremendous results from him. Second place in this race. He got a third in race number 1 of the evening as well. So that's going to do him a world of good there in his championship fight. And yeah, it looks good for him. But Luke McEwen, don't write him out of this. He did have a bit of a rough one in race number 1, but second race certainly worked out for him.
Yeah, it really, really did. And a great result coming out of the race too is certainly going to help him and his team in terms of the points finishes. It's just a shame that for Monster Rugby Gaming, at least, that Alex Betts wasn't quite at the level of Josh Ladd. Of course, he was in some portions of this event here today, but unfortunately, having that not a fantastic finish in race 1 affected his starting position for race 2. Yes, he did climb up into the points from P17, but not enough to be able to equalize the gap, so to speak, to Apex Racing Academy, which are Monster Rugby Gaming's direct competitors in the team's championship at the moment. So you're going to have to watch this space here, at least for the second half of the season. But before we get on to wrapping things up here, we do have to speak to a good couple of our drivers. And, well, that's going to be your responsibility, Paul. And we'll drag Stanley Deslanders up in towards the commentary booth. And, well, Paul, take it away.
Well, actually, we'll start the race winner, of course, from race number 1, Luke McEwen, who joins us now here in the commentary booth. And, I mean, Luke, let's quickly touch on race number 1, opening lap. Mistake from yourself. Was that a case of just hitting that curb at the chicane wrong, and then you really had to fight your way back through the field to get into that top 10?
Yeah, I don't really know what to say. I think it's just the cold tires, because I had Ryan on my inside, so I let him go to avoid a contact through the chicane, and then I avoided the second curb, but I guess cold tires, I don't really know, I'd have to have a look. But wasn't an ideal start to the race. Definitely not.
No, absolutely not. But you did a good job of working your way through into that top 10 in the end of the first race. And the second race, I mean, what a drive. I mean, you didn't have, you had to work at it, don't get me wrong, but that was sensational stuff from yourself and from your teammate, and taking advantage of things happening in front of you.
Yeah, the start of the race was a bit manic. There was quite a lot of like fighting going on in front of me. I was just trying to maybe keep a bit more of a distance to not get involved in that. Then once I got through that, got 1 or 2 moves done, started to try and catch up to the lead group ahead. And I think it was P1 and 2 made a mistake, and me and Stan got through. So it was a pretty easy job there to get into the 1-2, and then it was just plain sailing to the end, really.
I mean, looking at things as a whole then, we are at the halfway point of the championship. You are involved in that Drivers' Championship, but yourself and Stan, looking at the Teams' Championship, you're looking very strong going into that second half of the season now.
Yeah, in this championship, the team championship is massive. It's the bulk of the prizes, and yeah, we're just going to work together as best as we can as a whole team, not just me and Stan, to try and carry on our lead to the end.
Well, Luke, you must be absolutely delighted with the result here in race 2. Enjoy yourself this evening, and congratulations on the win.
Cheers.
So that was Luke McEwen, our race winner here in race number 2. And the next person to join us in the commentary booth now is Josh Ladd. Josh, I mean, we won't get tired of speaking to you, but you finished P3 in race 1, 1 position better in race 2. Are you kind of disappointed that you didn't get the chance of a win, or are you happy getting those points in the championship?
I'm just happy to points, really. You don't realise how much the F1 points are weighted towards P1 and P2 in these championships. So it does hurt the championship a bit from not getting P1, but I mean, you saw sort of Luke's pace. Happy to and a good Alex as well. P9.
Yeah, I think we're just having a few problems with the mic there, Josh. So if we stick around, we might be able to sort things out. But we'll quickly speak to third place driver Stanley Deslanders. And well, Stanley, we speak once again. Another podium for yourself here for the Apex Racing Academy. You had the chance of a win, just a little mistake, and just cost you in the end.
Yeah, last corner just got really loose, and yeah, just went straight back to 4th. But I mean, overall today, just happy with the points. Like P2, P3, it's good for the championship, and a mega pace for Luke as well.
Yeah, really good results for you in the championship, of course, for the team. And we're moving forward then. Second half of the season, we head off to Snetterton next round on November the 11th. I mean, what do you think of that 300 layout in this car? Is that going to be one that suits the car and yourself, more importantly?
Well, it's going to be a lot better than this, that's for sure. But yeah, I mean, there's going to be a lot of slipstream, and it's going to be really close battling, I think. But I don't even own the track yet, so it's going to be, I don't know if it's going to suit me, to be honest.
I'll say get on the blower to Alex Simpson and get him to buy it for you. But
yeah, I might have to give him a quick message after this.
It's certainly one that you should be able to do well at in this F4 car. Congratulations on 2 podiums here today, Stanley, and
Thank you.
Enjoy your evening.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Hopefully, we've got Josh's technical problems sorted, and we should be good now, Josh. But yeah, looking at this then, end of the first half of the season for you. You must be delighted with how things are going. Didn't all go all your own way in terms of the team, with your teammate not getting as well a points this round, but yourself, really good results for you.
Yeah, is my microphone okay now?
Yeah, that's good.
Okay, yeah, I've been throwing my headphones because of this bloody chicane, so it's probably that. Yeah, I mean, yeah, just maximize the result really. I mean, Luke, I think he's got 2 wins in a row now, but I think I'm might be the only driver not to have a DNF out of the Apex and Munster Rugby guys. So that's my game plan here, is just not get taken out at all, and just consistently score points. And yeah, this was the most dangerous track out of all of them. So pretty happy about it.
Well, congratulations on the two podiums here today, and all the best for the rest of the season.
Thanks.
Well, there we go. Those are our podium finishers from race number 2 here at Knockhill. And, well, our third race meeting here in the British F4 Esports Championship. Well, soon going to come to a close, but I want to get your final thoughts here first, Paul. Of course, your first commentary here on this series. How do you feel that one went?
Panic, chaos, disorder, and that was just us in the commentary box. It was exciting, if nothing else, drama filled. There was some really good racing out there from quite a few of the drivers. I think a few too many incidents that could have potentially been avoided, and I'm glad I'm not one of the stewards here, because they're going to have a busy evening looking after all those results. But looking forward for the second half of the season. Snetterton, I mean, Stanley touched on it there. Going to be a lot of slipstream at that circuit, down the centre straight, down the Bentley straight as well. You've got that infield as well, which is quite tricky, but can give you overtaking opportunities. And we've even got the scary tree as well for you. But it's Norfolk's finest track, and it's certainly going to produce us some excellent racing.
Yep, it absolutely is. We've got all that and more to look forward to in just 1 week's time. November the 11th, same time, same place here in the ROKiT British F4 Esports Championship. But unfortunately, we will have to end it there from Knockhill. I've been Connery Medic. I've been joined by the ever wonderful Paul Smith. And have a very fantastic night.